Hi everyone, welcome back to Lady Lovestead Reads. Today's video is my January 2021 wrap-up.
Welcome to the Lovestead.
So welcome to another very sunny day here at the Lovestead. The month of January into February are the sunniest months here in Iowa. So enjoy it, drink it in. Feel the rays, the vitamin D. Alright, so in the month of January 2021, had a pretty decent reading month. I read 17 books. Granted, not all of those were finished. There were a couple DNFs in there. Of those 17 books, 2 of them were children's or middle grade, and 3 of them were young adult. The rest were all adult. Let's see, 1, 2, 3, 4 were nonfiction, and the rest were all fiction. So I'm just going to go in order here of books read. Some of these books I do have, and some of them I had to return to the library or I listened on audiobooks. So the first book that I read in January was We Are Not From Here by Jenny Torres Sanchez. This book was phenomenal. It made me cry. It is one of maybe 4 books in my lifetime to make me cry, and I mean cry, like ugly sob cry. It's such a powerful story about 3 kids who are immigrating to the United States from Guatemala, and they take La Bestia, which is a train that they literally climb on top of and ride up to the north. Such a powerful book on the topic of immigration. Absolutely stunning, thrilling, emotional. The impact of what these kids go through is just incredible. So it is one of those books that I want everybody 15 years and older to read. It is a tough book, so I wouldn't want someone younger than 15 to read it because it could be a little traumatizing. But everyone 15 and older needs to read this book. Book 2 was Grace and Style, The Art of Pretending You Have It by Grace Helbig. I listened to this on audiobook, and it was one of the ones that I did not finish. I stopped at about 30% of the way through. The introduction of this book is really good. Grace talks about her experience with body image and eating disorder and fashion and her relationship with her father. That was stellar, and I wish the rest of the book had been along that line, because the rest of it is just nonsense. I mean, she writes whole chapters from the perspective of, I believe it's sweatpants, like personifies these different clothing items, and it just felt like a huge waste of time from that point, because like she wasn't addressing any issues. It wasn't all that funny. It just felt like a waste of time. So I really wish she had gone with what she started in the introduction. But yeah, I did not finish that at about 30% of the way through. Book 3 was The Crockery Cookbook by Lisa Manz. This is from the Better Homes and Gardens Test Kitchen, published in 1994. So this is a book of recipes for crockpot cooking, and I'll have a vlog style review of this coming out soon, so I will refrain from saying a whole lot more about it, but I did end up rating this 2 stars. Also, to flip back, I rated We Are Not From Here 5 out of 5 stars, and anytime I DNF a book, I just give it 1 star, because it obviously wasn't worth my time. So, book number 4 was Shiny Broken Pieces by Sona Charapatra and Danielle Clayton. This is the second book in the Tiny Broken Things duology, and I checked this out from my library, I like this book. I call these books brain candy because they're just sheer entertainment. There's not really a whole lot of nutritional value. They're just like candy for your brain. But it's about a ballet school in New York City and all the drama and competition that goes on between the students at the ballet school. I enjoyed it, but I am also a fan of the movie Center Stage and the TV show Dance Academy. This is like a trope that I absolutely love. So I really enjoyed living in this world for the length of those two books. I do have a single book review style review published. I'll link it to you up here. And I ended up giving that book 3 stars out of 5. Number 5 was Murder at the Vicarage by Agatha Christie. This is book 1 in the Miss Marple series. I really enjoyed this book. I thought that Agatha Christie's writing was crisp and elegant and wonderful, and I didn't figure out who done it. I'm usually pretty good at that, so I know that it's a good mystery if I can't figure it out, and I didn't figure it out on this one. I enjoyed all the the small town British etiquette and scandal that happened in the book. It made me chuckle. So I'm excited to read the next book in that series. Book number 6 was The Starless Sea by Erin Morgenstern. I also got this from my library, and this one is about Zachary, and he finds a book in his library, and the book tells the story of an experience that he had in his childhood. So it's kind of this mystery for him. He gets obsessed with it, and then interwoven in between Zachary's timeline are more mythical fairy tale like stories from the Starless Sea. I didn't like this book. I felt like Erin Morgenstern did a good job of painting really pretty pictures, but was severely lacking when it came to plot. So I did give that book 2 stars out of 5. Oh, and Murder at the Vicarage, I gave 4 stars out of 5. Stay organized, Jess. Okay. Number 7 was The Midnight Library by Matt Haig. I read this on my Kindle, and if you watch any of my upcoming videos that I do here with Simon from Booktube with Simon and Amy, you'll get an in-depth understanding of why I rated this book 1 star. So stay tuned. Book 8 was Every Day We Get More Illegal by Juan Felipe Herrera. This is a work of poetry. I'm not the best person or judge of poetry, like the best person to talk about poetry. I'm not a poetry expert. I enjoy reading poetry, and I find it to be like doing a puzzle where you kind of have to figure out the different puzzle pieces within a poem. But when it comes to critically analyzing a poem, I would not call myself the best at it. So I don't ever feel like I can give a solid review on a work of poetry other than just telling you what some of the major themes are. And I did like this. I thought it was artistic. I liked his poetry. You can tell that he goes beyond just lyric verse, which drives me nuts. And the heavy themes in this one are immigration and capitalism, environmentalism, and there's a little bit of magic realism in there as well. So I gave that collection of poetry 3 stars out of 5. Okay, 5, 6, 7, 8. We're at book 9. Book 9 was The Growing Season by Sarah Frey. I listened to this on audiobook from my library, and this was another one that I did not finish. I was frustrated because I was really looking forward to this book. The Lovestead is like my little homestead, and I love the idea of someday having a small farm. So I was all about the premise of this book, but the tone turned me off. The tone is so smug. Like, she's so smug and self-congratulatory in this book. And I just couldn't tolerate it. It just, like, the tone just ruined it for me. So I couldn't continue with it. I actually DNF'd it at like 14%, so I really didn't make it very far. Who knows, maybe I would have ended up really liking the story in the end, but I just could not get past the smugness. So 1 star out of 5. Book 10 was a graphic novel, Strangers in Paradise by Terry Moore. This is the first pocket book of the series. So this is a story about Kachu and Francine. And Kachu has a history with the mob, and it's starting to catch up with her. So she and her best friend Francine end up having some adventures together, and I love it. I loved it. It was so fun. The characters were amazing. Francine and Kachu are friendship goals for sure. They just love each other so unconditionally. And there's a lot of tropes regarding things like gender and sexual fluidity. And the art in this is lovely. I actually marked for you my favorite panel. I don't know how well you'll be able to see it, but this was my favorite. I am reading this with my best friend. We're reading this series, so I'll continue on to the second pocket book here in February. Okay, book 11. Oh, Strangers in Paradise, 3 stars out of 5. Now book 11. Book 11 was Rivermarked by Patricia Briggs. This is the 6th? Yes, the 6th book in the Mercy Thompson series. This is about Mercy and Adam. After they get married, they go on their honeymoon at the Columbia River Basin and go camping and discover a river monster. I have a more detailed review of this book coming up soon, so I won't say anything more than that, but I did rate that book 2 stars out of 5. Book 12 was The Mephisto Club by Tess Gerritsen. This is the 6th book in the Rizzoli and Isle series. So this is about Maura and Jane, and they are contacted by Anthony Sansoni, who manages this group called the Mephisto Club. And they're an international society that focuses on tracking signs of evil in the world. And they're a bunch of really rich people who have lots of connections with important people and talented people and smart people. And it has a very like Da Vinci Code-esque-ness about it. A really fun story. Had a great time reading it. And I gave that book 3 stars out of 5. Book, I believe this is 14 then? 14. No, 13. Yes. 13, 14, 15, 16, 17. Yes, book 13. Book 13 was Keeper of the Lost Cities by Shannon Messenger. I read this as part of Middle Grade Monthly's January book club pick. And this book is about Sophie, who is a telepath, and she gets whisked away into this new world to live because she is an elf. And so she has to go to this new elf school. It has very Harry Potter-like plot structure. And there are some issues with this book, but overall I had an enjoyable reading experience with it, and I gave it 3 stars out of 5. Book 14 then was Cinder by Marissa Meyer. This is the first book in the Lunar Chronicles series. In February, I'm buddy reading the 2nd book in the series called Scarlet with Helen at Helen's Book Haven. So Cinder is a fantasy, science fiction, future dystopian retelling of the classic fairy tale Cinderella. And in this version of Cinderella, Cinder is a cyborg. Loved it, loved it, loved it. 3 stars out of 5. Book 15. Book 15 was Life and Death, Twilight Reimagined by Stephanie Meyer. This is the first book in the Twilight series, only with all the genders flipped. So the Bella character is Beau, the Edward character is Edith, the Jacob character is Julie. So basically just flips all the genders. And I had fun with it. I mean, it wasn't amazing. It wasn't groundbreaking. It was entertainment. Sheer entertainment once again. But I had fun with it. I mean, didn't think it was the greatest thing ever written, but it was fun. So 3 stars out of 5. Book 16 was The Moment of Lift by Melinda Gates. I listened to this on audiobook from my library. I really liked this book. So what was most interesting to me about this book was a couple of things. So first, I really liked hearing about how Melinda approaches some of these issues like gender equity and access to contraceptives and things like that from her Catholic background, and how she addresses her position that love and compassion for others trumps doctrine. I thought that was really interesting and kind of a powerful thing for her to state. So that was one of the things that I really liked. I also liked how she utilizes data to make her decisions, and she's very, very careful about the work she does and the decisions she makes within her foundation, so that any kind of decision she makes, any kind of project she starts or funds or works on, is done with the greatest care and respect for the culture in which she is doing that work. And I admired that a lot. So I did give that book 4 stars out of 5. And then the last book. I actually literally finished this book January 31st. But the last book that I read was Mary Poppins by P.L. Travers. This is just the first book in the Mary Poppins series, and I liked it. Okay, so there's a lot of debate about the book versus the movie, because in the book, Mary Poppins is mean. Like, she is cold. She makes some really mean remarks to the kids. She's a little bit vain, and she likes to stare at herself in shop windows, and like, she's very different from the Mary Poppins of the movie. So for people who get really attached to the Mary Poppins of the movie, they get really angry when they read the Mary Poppins in the book. But I thought that it worked in the book, and I thought that the book had just some dark undertones in general. Like, there's one scene where Mary Poppins throws a birthday party in a zoo, and it's like this weird occultish full moon thing that happens. So just in general, there are some dark moments, but overall I enjoyed it, and I gave it 3 stars out of 5. So before my spring allergies get the best of me here, I am gonna go ahead and wrap up this video. Hopefully February will be just as good a reading month for me, and I can't wait to watch all of your wrap-up videos. And until next time, make sure to continue to read good books, drink good coffee, take care of yourselves and each other. Bye!